Hello, hello. Okay. All right. We're going to pick up where we left off. Côté nous t'ai quitté. Genesis 6, verse 6. All right. We ask that our Lord be with us, enrich our mind, get upon us His wisdom to understand His words so we can better live in His path. Jehovah regretted that he had made men on the earth, and his heart was saddened. So Jehovah said, I am going to wipe men whom I have created off the surface of the ground, men together with domestic animals, creeping animals, and flying creatures of the heaven, for I regret that I have made men. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Jehovah. This is where we left off the last time. If you have your Bible, so you can leave Bible. You can read dans n'importe langage, read in any language. You can just take your Bible and continue. Genesis 6, verse 8 now. So God wanted to give us another chance as Noah asked for another chance for us. He was the only one who was living on the right path. Now we're going to Genesis 6, verse 9. This is the history of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He proved himself faultless among his contemporaries. Noah walked with the true God. In time, Noah became father to 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But the earth had become ruined in the sight of the true God, and the earth was filled with violence. Yes, God looked upon the earth, and it was ruined. All flesh had worn its way on the earth. The Nephilim has already existed. The Nephilim were born, seeds born from fallen angels, guardian angels of human being like myself, children that were born from angels and humans. They had becoming very disturbing to the earth. They were doing a lot of things, and things that we were learning from those things, from those angels. We used them to do bad, so that's why God wanted to destroy us. So God looked upon the earth, and it was worn. All flesh had worn its way on the earth. After that, God says to Noah, I have decided to put an end to all flesh because the earth is full of violence on account of them, so I am bringing them to one together with the earth. Make for yourself an ark for resinous wood. You will make compartment in the ark and cover it with tar, inside and outside. This is how you will make it. The ark should be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. You will make a window for light for the ark, 1 cubit from the top. You should put the entrance of the ark in its side and make it with a lower deck, a second deck, and a third deck. As for me, I am going to bring flood waters upon the earth to destroy from under the heavens all flesh that has the breath of life. Everything on the earth will perish, and I am establishing my covenant with you. And you must go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you, and bring into the ark 2 of every sort of living creature in order to preserve them alive with you, a male and a female. Of the flying creatures according to their kinds, the domestic animals according to their kinds, and all the creeping animals of the ground according to their kinds. 2 of each will go in there to you to preserve them alive. For your part, you are to collect and take with you every kind of food to eat, to serve as food for you and for the animals. And Noah did according to all that God had commanded him. He did just so. After that, Jehovah said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, because you are the one I have found to be righteous before me among this generation. You must take with you every kind of clean animal by sevens, the male and its mate, and of every animal that is not clean, just two, the male and its mate. Also of the flying creatures of the sky by sevens, male and female, to preserve their offsprings alive over all the earth. For in just 7 days I will make it rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. And I will wipe from the surface of the ground every living thing that I have made." Then Noah did everything that Jehovah had commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood water came upon the earth. So Noah, along with his son, his wife, and his son's wife, went into the ark ahead of the flood waters. Of every clean animal and every animal that is not clean, and of the flying creatures and everything that moves on the ground. They went inside the ark to Noah by two, male and females, just as God has commanded Noah. And 7 days later, the flood water come upon the earth. In the 600 years of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the spring of the vast water deep burst open, and the floodgates of the heaven were opened. And the rain poured down on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. On that very day Noah went into the ark along with his son, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and his wife, and the three wives of his sons. They went in with every wild animal according to its kind, and every domestic animal according to its kind, and every flying creature according to its kind, every bird, every winged creatures. They kept going to Noah inside the ark, two by two, of every sort of flesh that has the breath of life. So they went in, male and female of every sort of flesh, just as God has commanded him. After that, God shut the door behind him. The flooding continued for 40 days on the earth, and the waters kept increasing and began carrying the ark, and it was floating high above the earth. The waters became overwhelming and kept increasing greatly upon the earth. But the ark floated on the surface of the water. The waters overwhelmed the earth so greatly that all the tall mountains under the whole heavens were covered. The waters rose up to 15 cubits above the mountains. So all living creatures that were moving on the earth perished. The flying creatures, the domestic animals, the wild animals, the swarming creatures, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life, and its nostril died. So he wiped every living thing from the surface of the earth, including men, animal, creeping animals, and the flying creature of the sky. They were all wiped off the earth. Only Noah and those with him in the ark survived. And the water continued overwhelmingly the earth for 150 days. But God gave attention to Noah and to all the wild animal and domestic animals that were with him in the ark. And God caused a wind to blow over the earth, and the water began to subside. The springs of the water deep and the floodgates of the heavens were stopped up. So the rain from the heavens stopped falling. Then the water began to recede progressively from the earth. By the end of the 150 days, the water had subsided. In the seventh month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountain of Arabat. And the waters were steadily decreasing until the 10th month. And the 10th month, on the first of the month, the top of the mountain appeared. So at the end of the 40 days, Noah opened the window that he had made in the ark and sent out a raven. He continued flying outside and returning until the water dried off the earth. Later, he sent out a dove to see whether the water had receded from the surface of the ground. The dove did not find any resting place to perch, so it returned to him into the ark because the waters were still covering the surface of the whole earth. So he reached his hands out and brought it inside the ark. He waited 7 more days, and once again he sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove came to him toward evening, he saw that there was a fleshly prick, olive leaf in its bill. So Noah knew that the waters had receded. The bird came back with leaves from the earth. He waited still another 7 days. Then he sent out the dove, but it did not return to him anymore. Now, in the 601 years, in the first month, in the first day of the month, the waters had drained from the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was drying. In the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried off. God now said to Noah, "Go out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your son's wife. Bring out with you all the living creatures of every sort of flesh, of the flying creatures, and of the animals, and all the creeping animals of the earth, that they may multiply on the earth and be fruitful and become many on the earth." So Noah went out together with his son, his wife, and his sons' wives. Every living creature, every creeping animal, and every flying creature, everything that moves on the earth went out of the ark by families. Then Noah built an altar to Jehovah and took some of all the clean animal and all of the clean flying creature and offered burnt offering on the altar. And Jehovah began to smell a pleasant aroma. So Jehovah said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground on man's account, for the inclination of the heart of man is bad from his youth up. And never again will I strike down every living thing as I have done. Never again will I curse the ground on man's account." That's the promise of God. As the Father that we know that He is, a Father who has always been forgiving us, who even through the time of sadness that He was going to destroy us because of one good man, He decided to give us another chance. Now, God says, on our account, all right, I repeat. So Jehovah said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground on men's account. For the inclination of the heart of man is bad from his youth up. From his youth up. And never again will I strike down every living thing as I have done. We start to get bad from our youth as we young age to as we grow older. Never again. It is known many have cursed upon God, saying God is doing all this. God has kept his promise. We know that God is the one who has made promises to us that he would not curse us because of our heart, because we decide to go bad. So if in our youth, by our young age, we start to read the Bible and make good decisions, we can do this. And if after our youth we have lost our way, we decide to do at least try the best to do the good, we can still do it. The decision is ours, for we were created with the will to do right and wrong. It is up to us to decide whether we do the right thing or the wrong thing. Whenever we do the wrong thing, it is a choice that we make. It's not God that's destroying the earth. God has said never again that he would do anything bad to this earth because of what we are doing. If God, as we know, that keeps on forgiving us and keep its promise, we have to stop saying that things that's happening is because of God, because it's not. So let's keep on going. From now on, the earth will never cease to have seed sowing and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night. We all know the story of Noah, so we don't really have to go through this. And God did not just tell Noah to take two animal, a pair of each. So Noah take a pair, but seven pair. That's what the Bible says. Seven pairs of each, not just two. Seven pairs of each. Two, so they can grow and multiply and become families and all over the world. Seven pairs of each. God went on to bless Noah and his son and to say to them, be fruitful and become many and fill the earth. A fear of you and a terror of you will continue upon every living creature of the earth, and upon every flying creature of the heavens, upon everything that moves on the ground, and upon all the fish of the sea. They are now giving unto your hands. Every moving animal that is alive may serve as food to you. Only flesh with its life, its blood, you must not eat. God says, only flesh with its life, its blood, that we should not eat. Things that are alive. Beside that, I will demand an accounting for your lifeblood. I will demand an accounting from every living creature, and from each man I will demand an accounting for the life of his brother. Anyone shedding man's blood, by man will his own blood be shed. For in God's image he made man. As for you, be fruitful and become many, and increase abundantly on the earth and multiply. I will read this verse again. Anyone shedding man's blood, by man will his own blood be shed. For in God's image he made man. As for you, be fruitful and become many. So when you kill another person, you might as well have killed God itself. For we were created to God's image. For we are the present representatives of God on the earth. Every man that you kill, you literally hurt God. And God says, once if you kill somebody by that blood of that person, you will find the same kind of service be rendered to you. Then God says to Noah and to his sons with him, I am now establishing my covenant with you and with your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the living creatures of the earth with you, all those that came out of the ark, every living creature of the earth. Yes, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all flesh be destroyed by the water of a flood, and never again will a flood bring the earth to ruin. And God added, this is the sign of the covenant that I am making between me and you, and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. Excuse me, people, for all future generations, not just for Noah and his three sons and wives, for all future generations. God's promise. I put my rainbow in the cloud, and it will serve as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring a cloud over the earth, then the rainbow will suddenly appear in the cloud. And I will suddenly remember my covenant that I made between me and you and every living creature of every kind. And never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the rainbow will occur in the cloud, and I will suddenly see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of every kind on the earth. God repeated to Noah, this is the sign of a covenant that I established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Noah's son who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham later became the father of Canaan. These three were Noah's sons, and all the earth population came from them and spread abroad. Now, Noah started off as a farmer and he planted a vineyard. When he drank of the wine, he became intoxicated and he uncovered himself inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and he told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment and put it upon both their shoulders and walked in backyard. Thus they covered their father's nakedness while their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah woke up from his wine and learned what his young sons had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan. Let him become the lowest slave to his brothers. And he added, Praise be Jehovah, the God of Shem, and let Canaan become a slave to him. So Canaan was the first one who found his father's naked. He didn't do anything about it. He went and go look for his brother. When the brother came, the brother covered his father. So at this point, I guess the father got upset, maybe because at first you came to the scene, you didn't do anything, you go get someone else to do it for you. So praise be Jehovah, the God of Shem, and let Canaan become slave to him. So the father put the one that came and did something about it above the other one that first saw him. Those are consequences, cause and effect. The same way when Abel and Cain, God reprimanded them. So this is another consequence, cause and effect. Let God grant ample space to Japheth, and let him reside in the tent of shame. Let Canaan become a slave to him also. Noah continued to live for 350 years after the flood. So now, see, parents, even since then with Noah, parents knew how to take to take strong hold against their children. Now, a father cursing his son because he got drunk and end up naked. The son find him naked, didn't do anything about it. Go ahead and go look for somebody else. Now, not he didn't he become not the only person who saw the scene, but somebody else become the witness of the scene. That second person who actually take action to actually cover him. Okay, so because you can, this is the cause and effect. You came, you see the thing, you didn't do anything about it. You go ahead, you bring somebody else to the scene, and the second person is the one who actually did the good thing, cover him without even looking at his nakedness. And that person who actually commit the good action before the eyes of the Father find praise. As a father, he gave him a blessing in the name of Jehovah, and also punishes the son that found them and did not do anything about it. Therefore, today the parents are afraid to even punish their children because everything is upside down. And here you are, one who's been condemned by his own father to become slaves to his brothers, even the one that wasn't even involved, because he did not do the right thing at the first place. Let's think about that. How many times were we in a situation where we were exposed to do the right thing? Instead of doing the right thing, we went on and do something else, bring somebody else to the scene, yet we still are asking that we get praised when we didn't do anything. And they show you right here in the Bible, there are consequences to one's actions. There are consequences to one's actions. Okay? His consequence for finding his father naked and drunk and did not do anything about it and go get somebody else was to become slaves of his other brothers. He was a slave, meaning he was supposed to be beneath them. And here we are. We are being so sensitive about everything. We think we are above everything. We can do whatever we want to people, and nobody is supposed to say anything to us. It has been said since the beginning of time. God give us the knowledge as parents, as human beings, okay, to know what cause and effect, consequences to one's action is, and that we can punish ones for not doing something right. We have lost trust, all the tracks of those things. Those things we no longer do them anymore. We fear that if we do those things, we are doing the wrong thing. And here we are. All right, let's keep on going. So Cain becomes slave of his two other brothers. He was beneath them. Noah continued to live for 350 years after his 600 years. That's 950. So all the days of Noah amounted to 950 years, and he died. This is the history of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madi, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tarbar. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tashish, Kitham, Dodamin. The son of Javan, Elisha, Takif, Kitham, and Dodanim. From these, the inhabitants of the island spread into their land according to their language and their families and by their nations. They have had many sons, many daughters, and they spread. Some of them go live in other places, and they do say they had their own languages and their own family, so they formed their own tribe. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The son of Cush was Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Sabtika. The son of Ramah was Sheba and Dedan. Cush became father to Nimrod. He was the first to become a mighty one on the earth. He became a mighty hunter in opposition to Jehovah. That is why there is a saying, just like Nimrod, a mighty hunter in opposition to Jehovah, the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land, he went into Azariah and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Kala, and the recent between Nineveh and Kala. This is the great city. So God appointed a hunter. He was a delegate of Jehovah, and he had his first kingdom. Mizraim became father of Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathwazim, Kashlohim, from whom the Philistine came, and Caphtorim. Okay, so one of his great son gave rise to the Philistine. Canaan became father of Sidon, his firstborn in Heth, as well as the Jebusite and Amorite, the Girgashites and the Hivite, the Archite and the Sinite, the Harvadite, the Zemavite, and the Hamathite. Afterward, the family of the Canaanites was scattered, so they get separated all over. So the boundary of the Canaanite was from Sidon as far as the Gerar near the Gaza, as far as Sodom to Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim near the Lasher. These were the sons of Ham according to their families and their language, by their lands and their nation. Children were also born to Shem, the forefather of all the sons of Eber, and the brother of Japheth, the oldest. The son of Shem were Elam, Ashur, Apashad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Al, Gether, and Mash. Apashad became father of Salah, and Salah became father of Eber. Two sons were born to Eber. The name of the one was Peleg. Because of his lifetime, the earth was divided. The name of his brother was Jokar. Jokon became father of Almodad, Shelef, Azamaveth, Jawar, Adawam, Ozol, Dikla, Obal, Abimal, Sheba, Ophir, Avila, and Jobab. All of these were the sons of Joktan. Their place of dwelling extended from Mesha as far as Safar, the mountainous region of the east. These were the sons of Shem according to their families and their languages, by their lands and their nations. These were the family of the son of Noah, according to their family line and their nation. From these the nation was spread abroad in the earth after the flood. Now all the earth continued to be of one language and of one set of words. As they traveled eastward, they discovered a valley plain in the land of Shinar, and they began dwelling there. Then they said to one another, come, let us make brick, and break them with fire. Hmm. So they used bricks instead of stone, and bitumen as mortar. They now say, come, let us build a city for ourselves, and a tower with its top in the heaven, and let us make a celebrated name for ourselves, so that we will not be scattered over the entire face of the earth. Then Jehovah went down to see the city and the tower that the sons of men have built. Jehovah then said, look, they are one people with one language, and this is what they have studied to do. Now there is nothing that they may have in mind to do that will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language in order that they may not understand one another's language. So Jehovah scattered them from there over the entire face of the earth, and they gradually left off building the city. That is why it was named Babel, because there Jehovah confused the language of all the earth, and Jehovah scattered them from there over the entire face of the earth. Not only they were building a great city, they decided they were going to make a celebration for themselves. This is how, people started creating their own gods. They wanted their own celebration. And when God see that, that's how different language started. Now this whole town got divided and be sent apart. They were confused among each other and sent afar. So we're going to leave here in Genesis 11 until verse 9, and we will pick up later on. So how many language has come, all the generation and generation, many children has lived. Lots of people have already been populated. We had mighty warriors, great cities that were appointed by God. The one that were a mighty hunter, Nimrod, was appointed by God. But these ones, they were going to start building big towers and making up days of celebration of themselves to honor themselves. God saw that it wasn't going to be good. God got them confused and didn't want them to get out of control, get them confused with languages since they could not understand each other. So each group with their own language scattered. And this is the story of the city of Babel. Thank you for joining with me today. We will continue the next time with the Genesis 11, verse 10. So let's just think of it that we try as parents to guide our children since youth so they can set their path into the right thing. For God has told us it is from our youth that we start losing track of what is good. So we say thank you to the Lord for his knowledge, for his teaching, for whatever he has left behind so we can learn from our ancestor for being made of his own figure, for being a representative of him here on this earth. Parents, as we are, don't forget to keep on keeping your children on the right path, not let them just go out there. So we learned that today also in the Bible. So I wish you all um, a wonderful day, and I'll see you next weekend at the same time. Thank you, and God bless you all.